Hello, this is Matthew Robert Payne. This is Matthew Robert Payne. This is Tolu Sarah Johnson. This is the book called Reframe Heaven, and this is chapter 31. And Tolu's going to start us off.
This is where time becomes fluid, no longer fixed, expanding and contracting beyond limit. Wow. I never knew that is possible until when we have conversations with heaven. Jesus has said it, Papa has said it, my husband has said it, and I know there are so many other people that has the ability to be able to do that, to expand and shrink time. I remember Queen Elizabeth saying whenever she attends what do you call what they do every day? Where
The
you meet people.
building openings and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and she needs to shake the hands of everyone in attendance. She just shrink and expand time. To be candid, I have no clue of what they do there. When Matthew takes over, Matthew can explain further. But one thing I've been able to understand is sorry, but from there my understanding has begun to stretch because everything I've known about time begins to losing because I don't even know what time is anymore. On earth, time is fixed, measured, is counted by seconds, by minutes, by hours, always moving in one direction forward. But this is where you begin to see time is not as rigid as you saw, like in heaven. Like this morning, I was speaking to Jesus, and I'm like, Jesus, where are you in the swimming pool? How do you do both? That's what heaven can do. Surprise. So you don't need to be fixed in front of the laptop like me and Matthew. Now we fix here. They don't need to be fixed. They could be doing the stuffs and at the same time speaking to us. So heaven is so interesting. Time is not a straight line. This way you realize that time is not a line you are trapped inside. It is a dimension you move within, not something that controls you, but something that responds to reality. Because when you know you live forever and ever in heaven, why do you care about time? Because time does not bind you. It floats, it expands when needed, and it contracts when required. So it bends around your experience, not forcing experience to fit into it. But I don't think it's everyone that can stretch and shrink time. You have to have been able to grow in maturity to be able to. That's my assumption. Matthew can clarify that, but based on what I've heard so far, I don't think that is everyone has to shrink or it has to be a level of authority for you to be able to do that. And the experience is no longer rushed. This is one thing I've learned because when Papa used to speak to us every day when we used to do God's last day message to his children, and I keep emphasizing, oh God, I regret spending 24 years in church in religion. I was expressing my regret, and God said, no, Tolu, that's what made you who you are. You've learned something from the experience, and you live throughout eternity anyway. So why do 24 years matter? So even if you've lived there for 100 years and you never knew nothing about God and you're only coming to know now, it's not too late because your life continues forever and ever. So I'm not really impatient anymore. In a lot of ways, I'm not impatient. But when I need to write book, I am very impatient because it's like I've got this ticking box in my head. You need to do it. You need to do it. You need to do it. So that's a different thing. But when you look at me overall, generally now, I'm able to relax because I see that I don't need to rush myself anymore. The pressure disappears. I remember speaking with what's his name? Freddie Mercury. I said, Tolu, one of the things I love about singing in heaven is because there's no pressure to perform and perform and perform and perform. There's no pressure to bring the heat. There's no pressure to always be on the road. I don't know what they call is a concert where you're just moving from one location to another. The pressure of the heart
On tour.
on tour, the pressure of the heart is gone, which is so good because time is no longer limited. You are not racing against it. You're not losing it. You are not running out of it. So moment can deepen. And I think that's what you need to care more about. It's not the life that you live here that is time boxed. We are going to live one day. So do you want to spend your time wasting away your life on this time box limit that you've got here on her? You want to be this, you want to be that. But when you die, nothing is going to go with you. Your money is not going to go, nothing, absolutely. You came empty handed and you leave empty handed. And that's why the Bible says you build your treasure in heaven where moth and rot will not be able to, is it consume it, Matthew?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, moment can deepen without ending in heaven. That's why I'm so looking forward to heaven. So looking forward to it. Understanding can unfold without interruption, and conversations can continue without urgency. That's why you do a 3 days conversation. I remember my husband saying, or Matthew, I don't know which one, but they spent 3 days in heaven together having conversation. Like 3 whole days. But that's no sense of urgency in that, because you can have those conversations. You can enjoy yourself. You could take things step by step, not rushing. But for you to discuss something for 3 days, you have to have something in common, isn't it? Because nothing is being cut short. And another thing you need to notice that time responds to what is happening. There are moments that feel like expanded, rich, layered, full, as if one moment holds what would have taken years on earth. There are moments like that. And there are moments that feel light, brief, passing. And that's not because they are less, but because they do not need to extend. So time adjusts to purpose. And you are no longer governed by time. And that shift needs to happen because on earth you live inside time. In heaven, time exists within experience, and you're no longer limited by duration. You are not aging towards an end. You're not. You're not counting towards completion because there's no end point. You are moving towards. There's no end point at all. And that can be scary at the same time, but at the same time exciting. And there's only one continuation. And you begin to grow without pressure. Because growth that you experience in heaven is different. Growth is no longer time bound. And you're not trying to become before time runs out. You're not measuring progress by how long it takes. And you're simply becoming. And that becoming has space to unfold fully. Like when you look at John Lennon built a relationship with Jesus. It took him 40 years of earth time. It took Tiffany 6 months of earth time. I don't know. Something like that, more shorter. But does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter because you've got all the time anyway. You are in heaven. You can just go at your own pace. And that becoming has space to unfold fully without pressure, without comparison, without delay. And why this matters? Because your current life is shaped by time pressure. The life that you live here on earth is shaped by time pressure. It's shaped by deadline. It's shaped by aging. It's shaped by, I've got 24 hours. There's so many things I want to do in a day. And so many times I wish I could expand and shrink time like they do in heaven. But I've got to stick to these 24 hours that I have. Expectations, fear of running out. And because of that, I find it difficult to go and enjoy myself. Like fun for me is wasting time because I'm always like calculating the time I've got. How can I use this effectively today? How can I be productive? And this shapes how you live. But when you begin to see that time is not your master, something shifts. You stop rushing meaning and you stop forcing outcomes. You stop living as if everything must happen now, and you begin to live with depth. God bless.
So I want to give you 3 examples of time shrinking and time expanding. So when we covered when John Lennon got to heaven, he saw the city of heaven shining and there was a couple of figures walking towards him. And he said to himself, I know I deserve to go to hell, but
Hmm.
before I go to hell, I'd love to meet this Jesus that the Christians talk about. And before he knew it, Jesus appeared suddenly before him. Jesus looked at him with overwhelming love and compassion coming out of his eyes. Many people who have near death experiences explain the same look, and the power coming through Jesus' eyes knocked John to his knees, and he's on his knees. And Jesus said, "You wanted to meet me?" And he says, "Yes, Master." And Jesus said, "Can I sing you a song?" And John said, "Of course." And and Jesus said, "Imagine there's no heaven." And while he sang that lyric, he took him for a 1 hour tour of heaven. But the 1 hour tour only lasted 1 second. Right. So in the course of Imagine There's No Heaven, that amount of time was expanded to 1 hour. Took him on a
Wow.
tour of heaven. Then he said, "Imagine no hell below us," and that second got expanded to an hour tour of hell. And then,
Wow.
then he sang the rest of the song, Imagine No Borders, No Possessions, No Religion too, and all of that about the new earth. Then he took him for a tour for an hour of the new earth, how the new earth looked without borders, without religion, without money, without e-commerce, without poverty, without sorrow, without hunger. And he showed him the new earth that is prophesied in religion in Revelation. Then he said to John, "Where do you want to spend your time? In
Wow.
heaven or on earth? In heaven or in hell?" And John said, "With you." He didn't say in heaven. He said, "With you." And
Wow.
so Jesus said, "Enter in. You've done enough." And
Wow.
John walked through Jesus' body because Jesus was the gate, and Jesus is the gate. And he walked through Jesus' body and entered into heaven, into eternal life. Now, that's an example of shrinking and expanding time. What happened in earthly time was 3 or 4 minutes, the length of that song. What happened in heaven time was about 3 hours.
Hmm.
So that's one example. Another example is Michael Jackson will do a concert, and there'll be 50,000 people in the stadium watching the concert, and Michael will perform for 2 hours. And then at the end of the concert, everyone will have the opportunity to meet him and talk to him for 5 minutes and have a selfie taken of themselves. So 50,000 people over the course of like 4 hours, everyone comes down and meets him, but they only sit in their seat for about 5 minutes, and then their time is to meet Michael, and so that lasts for about 4 or 5 hours meeting Michael, but it only lasts for 2 hours in heaven time, right? So
Wow.
Michael spends 2 hours singing, 2 hours meeting and greeting fans, and time has shrunk and expanded. Uh,
Hmm.
so, um, and another example is Jesus. Up until a few months ago, used to meet every person in heaven for an hour each week and talk to them and catch up with them. And people really love that. Jesus only meets with people who are actively pursuing him now because he found that he was wasting his time. And so Jesus was able to spend a few hours with a person, but it would only be like 5 minutes in heaven time. So Jesus expands and shrinks time, and saints that are mature enough in heaven have got that ability to do that with their time. So if you're someone who's you can also uh, appear in multiple bodies, so your spirit can appear in 1,000 places at once. and that's called bilocation. That's called bilocation, where you can have a number of bodies, where your spirit is in multiple places, and you can talk to people and meet people and spend time with people, spend quality time with people. So there's kind of magical things that can happen in heaven, and it's because it's another realm and it's another place that heaven allows for that. Matthew's I've read of a priest that lived during the course of time, where it's in three physical locations at one time, ministering to people at the same time. He had three physical bodies in three different places at once, and testimony came back that he was in those three different locations. So that's possible on earth, and it's certainly possible in heaven. And so I hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yes, I did enjoy that. And to speak to this chapter, we'll invite Jesus himself to speak to this chapter.
So you've heard it preached and shared, if you're in church, that that God lives outside of time. Matthew was had his mother die about 4 or 5 years ago, and he used to talk to his mother every day. One time he was talking to his mother, and she said, "It's good to talk to you. I miss you between speaking to you." And Matthew said, I'm speaking to you every day. What do you mean you miss me? And she said, it's every day for you, but in heaven where I live, it's like 3 weeks of time. And Matthew realized that every earthly day was about 3 weeks' time. Now, you don't quote Matthew on that. Don't try and prove in the Bible that that's not the case. But that's like an estimate of how heaven operates. So every earthly day, every 24 hours on earth is about 3 weeks in heaven. But you've heard it preached that heaven exists outside of time. You've heard it said in the Bible, one day is like 1,000 years in heaven. So in God's sight, you can see that time is something that's an earthly thing, not so much a heaven thing. When Matthew spent time, that Tolu said, when Matthew spent 3 days and 3 nights with Ben at a cafe, at a coffee shop, do you think they spent 3 days and 3 nights in heaven time? Or do you think they spent 10 minutes in heaven time? We just expanded the time. They sat at a cafe and seemed to be there for 3 days and 3 nights. But when you really come to it, they were only there for 10 minutes. Like Ben went out and came back 10 minutes later, but he'd been away for 3 days. So things like that are magical in heaven. And I don't do things for magic. One time, Matthew seen some magicians and was fascinated by magicians who use witchcraft. And he's saying to saying to God and me, why can't I do witchcraft to share your gospel and be a minister to you? And he was pondering that because he thought it'd be a powerful way of witnessing. And he went to his mother's church, and his mother's pastor, who is led by the Spirit, who used to have notes for a sermon but often walked away from the notes and just preached. She said 3 times, led by the Spirit, I'm the God of heaven, not the God of magic. I'm not a magician. I don't need magic. And 3 times she said it in the course of a sermon. I'm the God of heaven, not the God of magic. I don't need magic. I'm not a magician. And that was a very clear way of speaking. But I can do what you would call magical things. And one of the things I can do is expand and shrink time. I can also place your body, if you're like King Solomon with 1,000 wives, I can place your body in 1,000 places. So you can spend a night with each of your wife, but you're with all of your wives on the same night. I can do that because I'm magical, and I can do amazing things. So I don't waste my breath. I don't say things for the sake of saying things. I I don't I don't fill pauses in. I don't get uncomfortable if there's a pause in conversation. I don't have to say things for the sake of saying things. I'm not like a normal human. People report back, and Toulouse heard it another number of times in interviews. When people meet me face to face, they do 80% of the talking. I do 20% of the talking. I speak in brevity. I'm brief in the things I say. So that's why everything I said in the Bible is important. And it's important to understand the meaning behind what I said. And expanding and shrinking time is something you probably never heard of about in your course of being on Earth. There's been people who've translated, who've been on a 6-hour trip from one city to the next, and they really wish that they could be to the next city in 2 hours so they could get some sleep. And they're 4 hours away from the city. They go over a hill, and on the other side of the hill is that city, and their whole car has translated and shrunk time and gone through time and translated and appeared. And there's multiple accounts of that happening. That's another way of shrinking time and shrinking distance. So I can do a whole lot of things, and I'm the master of the universe. Why won't you let me be your master?
Wow. I love that, Jesus. You can be my master. Master Jesus. Oh, wow. You know, it's like when you finish speaking and you just chew the microphone. That's what happens metaphorically.
Mic
The way
drop.
you
Mic drop.
mic drop. Yeah, yeah. That's a mic drop. Why would I be your master? Well, I guess we can all ponder on that. So to close, thank you, Jesus. This is where you release the belief that time is rigid, that it must always move in one direction, that everything must fit within it. And you begin to see that time is not the authority, it is the environment, responsive, flexible, expansive. So the shift is this: you stop living as if time is against you, and you begin to understand that what truly matters is not how much time you have, but how deeply you live within it. God bless.
God bless you all, and see you in the next meeting.